What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Extending Family Podcast. My name is Dewan.
And I'm Jen.
And we're here to invite you into the conversation related to all things about Black lives and Black love. And through those discussions, what we're hoping to do is extend our Black family.
And also by introducing you guys to each other. And also people in the culture who are doing great things and creating great things.
Yes. In every episode, we're going to put links in the description for the people that we talk about, for the subject matters. And we really want everybody to engage and talk about these people. Go on their page, like them, follow them, find some inspiration like we have. Through those creations, I feel like we can spark conversations about people in music and movies, but also in technology and science.
This week's topic for 2 episodes will be Representation Matters.
That's right. And actually, this idea was sparked by, I believe it was a song that your dad sent you, right?
My dad, whose last name is Holmes, sent me the song Remember to Remember. And I don't know if you knew it, but I certainly didn't.
Never heard of it myself.
But it was really great because as you were listening, you heard a list of prominent and familiar past freedom fighters, but also some people that I didn't know. So it was fun doing that research.
It was almost like listening to music trivia. I'm like, oh, I recognize that name. Oh, I know that name.
To kick off every episode, we would like to start off with words from my husband.
My first poem is called Birds and Butterflies Endure. We, caged birds, sing for you today and tomorrow. Morning will come with dismay and tears, but still we will rise. Tearing ourselves from bitter and selfish wishes for you to come back. I, Miss Maya, see nothing will cure that ache, but understanding the foundation of transition is love. I can hear the song you sang before you were a butterfly. It told a story of selflessness, wisdom, strength. Phenomenal woman, slinging my favorite rhymes to heal wounded hearts and bruised egos. Educating us in ways of nobility, showing the importance of spirit, telling us, be amazing. Rise, work, dance, love, endure.
Wow. I like it.
I like it too.
I'm a little biased.
I'm a lot biased. In the realm of representation matters, it made me think about Amanda Gorman being one of the youngest poets to ever speak at inauguration. And not only that, she's the youngest poet laureate that we've ever had. She is, I believe, 23, which is amazing to be launching a career like this. She has, if I'm not mistaken, 2 books. She is a phenomenal young lady. Give her flowers. She recently did a poem at the beginning of the Super Bowl. Check it out. It was very good. The reason I came to her when it comes to representation matters is because very rarely do we get to see not just a young person, not just a poet, not just an African American, but somebody with dark skin who highlights all of those things in one package. It was just amazing.
Gorgeous.
Amanda Gorman inspired me, like so many other writers, to go back and reflect on when Maya Angelou did her poem for Bill Clinton's inauguration in 1992. Her poem was truly an inspiration to me, and I'm sure to Amanda Gorman as a poet and writer. Maya Angelou was often regarded as a poet laureate, although she never was really actually a poet laureate. She was called the Black Poet Laureate and, Poet Laureate for the people, but she was never actually officially in the capacity of poet laureate.
I'm just not happy. I'm not happy that she did not earn that esteemed title, and she's gone now.
She should have. However, she was honored throughout her life in many different ways.
If you like what you hear so far, please do subscribe and also like. For this episode, Dewan came up with Let's Talk About Claudette Colvin.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you know Claudette Colvin.
Or maybe you don't.
I didn't know who Claudette Colvin was a couple years ago.
And you know how I learned about her?
Drunk history.
I don't know who fact checks drunk history, but I think they're usually pretty accurate.
Yeah, and actually, for the Claudette Colvin story, I don't know if you guys know her, Amber Ruffin. If not, look her up. She's hilarious. She's the one who tells the story. She has a bunch of different segments, some of which are really poignant. Some of them are really just funny. But she does really put herself out there. She tells a lot of stories of her own experiences of racism. Once again, if you don't know, Amber Ruffin's a dark-skinned individual, and she talks about various times where she was mistreated, thought to be less than, and really, she talks about the different ways that she's been a victim of racist and hateful climate that we have in the U.S.
But because she's a comedian, and again, I didn't know her as a comedian, I was just watching Drunk History. Mm-hmm. The way she tells the story, hilarious, because Drunk History is always hilarious.
Yes.
But I just liked the way she told the story, and like I said, it just stuck in my head. And I will never now forget the story of Claudette Colvin. And maybe it's because I was so angry as I learned about it, or because Amber Ruffin telling it and just how she told it. So thanks to Drunk History and Amber Ruffin for that.
Shout out to Lisa Bonet, who's also in the skit.
Oh, she plays Rosa Parks! And I got so mad because I love Bonet so much, and then I was so angry at Rosa, and I was like, I'm mad at you! It's hard for me to separate the actress from the character, but Bonet is amazing, and I think Drunk History uses her more than once.
Probably.
Amazing. Check out Drunk History.
It's great. Before Rosa Parks was arrested for sitting in that seat,
I was tired.
There was another young lady who did the very same thing at the age of 15.
And what was her name?
Claudette Colvin.
The reporter was like, hey, aren't you? And she says, yes, I am. And he says, aren't you kind of mad about this? Like, it was you. You were the first. And she's like, oh, no, I'm good. As long as everything's better. And
can you imagine that?
Yes. Can you imagine being so humble like Claudette that you're like, as long as it's better for the people, that's all I care about?
Reportedly, the leaders, quote unquote, leaders of the movement had spoken to her about this idea. So I think that she knew what was going on, even if she wasn't happy about it.
What?
I'm pretty sure she knew.
What?
It's amazing.
Okay, 15-year-old me would have been like, no, I'm the one who started it. I should get the credit for it.
I mean, in some respects, yes, but I mean, think of her frame of mind. She's probably thinking like, I just had enough. I didn't want this to happen. And, talking to an older Rosa or an older Martin, maybe they were like, listen, we really appreciate what you've done and we're using you as an inspiration.
Oh, inspiration. People always underestimate the youth. And if we have learned nothing from 2019 and 2020, you need to give our youth more credit. Okay?
A lot more credit.
A lot more credit. Naomi Wadler.
Oh my goodness, this girl is such an inspiration.
Maybe you remember her from 2018 for the March for Our Lives. Mm-hmm. And she was a phenomenal speaker. And everyone was like, oh, she's so young. She's so well poised. And you could just imagine the powerful impact she's going to have, not only on our Black community, but in her own community as she continues to go through, school and education and the moves she's going to make, because it does start with the young people being passionate, and it does start with the young people saying enough is enough. And that's where I feel like you could have given Claudette the chance.
I agree that we should have given Claudette the chance. I also see the reasoning behind wanting to have Rosa Parks, who is a little older, established, not saddled with the quote-unquote negative aspects of being an unwed, soon-to-be mother. You get where they're coming from to some respect.
Yes.
But I agree, they definitely should have given her some credit, maybe even after the fact. Rose is giving an interview and saying, I'm not the only one who's standing up for myself. Things like that. During the Civil Rights Movement, there had to have been numerous people who felt like Claudette, who were young and who needed support and help, and people who were trying to stand up for themselves but maybe didn't have the prominence of a Martin Luther King. So I can only hope they brought her into the fold, helped her understand and develop as a person in that movement. Isn't
there someone you also admired, a young person, during the Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely. DeRay McKesson, he's been on my radar for a while. He's currently hosting a podcast called Pod Save the People. He and some other really great, prominent African American individuals. They're younger than me, but not necessarily as young as Amanda Gorman or Naomi Wadler. They are really putting Black news on the forefront. They highlight things that are happening in Black communities. They talk about policies related to our lives and our safety. And it's really inspirational for somebody like me who grew up in Generation X with more of a mindset that I got from the baby boomer generation. You know, this is just the way it is. And as we're protesting in the streets for our lives and the death of Ahmaud Arbery, for George Floyd and so many others that have been lost, Breonna Taylor, etc. Watching these young individuals has been such an inspiration. I can't honestly say that in my lifetime have I ever felt more hopeful for our lives to get better.
Let's talk about other people. Clara Holmes.
Her name is also Holmes.
Well, yeah, because in the song Remember to Remember, I was like, well, this has to be his mother. But I decided to Google it because I was like, maybe she was a famous person. And no!
Turns out, no. Clara Holmes, actually, there were two different Clara Holmes, but the one that we're focusing on
is a model out of the UK. And I will link her Instagram and at the bottom, and you guys can follow her. Phenomenal, show-stopping model. And she talks about how there needs to be more representation. Yes, when we talk about representation, we do talk about seeing ourselves on screen and in media, but doesn't that also mean extending that so that we see different versions of ourselves? So she is someone who is wheelchair bound.
In that conversation about Clara Holmes, we talked about representation and how the fact that not only is she a disabled model, but she has dark skin, and the fact that we don't see enough people of color in different movie parts. So we talked about how with your sister, we see like the same 5 faces for a decade. Yes. And then, you know, we'll transition to from the 80s to the 90s, and then you have a different 5 faces, but they're all the same faces. It's starting to get better, and we're really happy to see that. And I think that people like Clara Holmes are what is inspiring that movement.
Huge shout out to Disability Horizons, and I will also have that link in the description, and where you can read about more people, like Dewan was talking about, who are breaking into more film and other media. So Clara Holmes, yes, she's a model, but there's also other people in there who are, film directors and fashion designers. And if there's somebody that you think we should mention, who else did we forget? Who else is really bringing up the culture and representation matters? Let's also acknowledge them.
Yeah, who's inspiring you? Let us know. All right, that's about it. We want to wrap up. Thank you again for listening. Please do engage, leave a comment below.
And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.
All right, peace.
Power.
And
love.